Welcome to our electronic special council meeting on November the 9th, 2021. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Regional Council is practicing physical distancing. Councillor Galloway and I are present in the council chamber. The purpose of this meeting is for council to consider a report on the museum Unzipped Rolling Stones exhibit and festival that was deferred from the Committee of the Whole on October 20th, 2021. I will now ask Tim to do the roll call.
Thank you. Chair Redmond?
Present.
Councillor Armstrong?
Present.
Councillor Clark?
Present.
Councillor Erb?
Present.
Councillor Foxton?
Present.
Councillor Galloway?
Present.
Councillor Harris?
Present.
Councillor Jaworski?
Here.
Councillor Jowett? Councillor Kiefer?
Present.
Councillor Lawrence, we have regrets from. Councillor McGarry? Councillor Nowak?
Present.
Councillor Shantz?
Present.
Councillor Strickland? And Councillor Verbanovic.
Present.
Thank you. I believe Councillor McGarry has counsel tonight and was unable to attend. I'd like to acknowledge the land on which we gather virtually today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, and the Neutral people. I acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contributions to our community. What I have learned from First Nations people who I have worked with is that our relationship to the land should be one of stewardship and not ownership, and I am proud and honored to make this journey with them. I would ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Conflict of Interest, the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Seeing none, I would now entertain a motion to go into the Committee of the Whole to consider a report. That is moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Nowak. All those in favor, please use your icons to vote yes or no. That is carried. We do have a delegation. David Marskell, CEO of the museum, Frank Boutzis, President of the Museum Board of Directors, and Deb MacLatchy, an officer of the Museum Board of Directors. Welcome to our delegation. I'll ask David Marskell probably to start off, and you have 10 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you very, very much. And we'll try to keep it as brief as possible. What a day you've been through. I have personally never played so many hands of solitaire in my life in a row, waiting for this moment. But I do thank you for allowing us to provide more information to Council for you to consider the magnitude of our world-class exhibition, The Rolling Stones Unzipped, and its impact on our community. I apologize. I may have to leave early as the Premier and several from caucus are arriving for a tour at 5 o'clock, and hopefully they'll be a little bit late. Frank and Deb had to keep moving, and I'm joined today by two board members, Mary Dalton and Paul Salvini. And first, I would ask that you to appreciate the world-class status of this exhibition. It has been presented in 10 cities on the planet. Our community is one of them, with London, New York, Tokyo, Sydney, and most recently Marseille, France. We are not bringing it only to Canada, we are bringing it to Waterloo region. This is a unique opportunity to market the region of Waterloo beyond our borders and expose our communities to so many more of that population. It will bring jobs and people from across Canada and Northeast United States to our community. It is an opportunity to help reboot our local economy, specifically in tourism and hospitality. The collective task before us is to leverage and capitalize this enormous opportunity for the region. We often get presented with incredible opportunities, and the challenging part is saying, yes, let's make this enormous opportunity for the betterment of our community. Those are words by Frank Boutzis. With that, I will now pass this over to Mary.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And I'm not nearly as rehearsed. So may I just say, Madam Chair, Redmond and councillors and any staff that are still here, you are incredible. I had no idea 10 hours later, but the last little bit was very exciting stuff about living wage and the Youth Planning Council, and then some of the good news you all got. And I am a member of the board of directors, and so I'm very pleased to be here. But I am partially here because, as some of you may know, I had a pretty happy and successful career in tourism. And I was around at a time when high-rise was 10 stories and economic development was off the desk of the councillors and the mayor region and the staff and private business. And, you were really lucky if you were able to bring tours to Toronto, because then they might do a post or pre-event here. Much has happened since then, and we have a much more successful environment in Waterloo region, thanks to the work of so many. But I would tell you that you still have to have something really special. And I believe that there's no question that the board would tell you Laurel McKellar, who has got an eye for opportunity like no one and extraordinary negotiating skills, who is one of the staff at the museum, would tell you that this is an opportunity that rarely comes along. And I think we need to grab this by both hands. There's no doubt, and I don't need to tell any of you about the decimated tourism industry. That's a foregone conclusion. And now it's a matter of fighting back. But there's a couple of points I want to make that I would speak to specifically from the tourism sector. I think that whether it's good times or bad times, employment is the key ingredient that provides opportunity, not only to help create self-worth, but a sense of belonging and hope. And the hospitality sector for decades and decades has not just been able to do that here, but beyond its borders, but it's created entry point for employment. And I know many of you know that young people who don't have resumes yet, this is sometimes where they start, is in the hospitality sector, the tourism sector, to start to get a resume, to get their first job. It's also what I would call supplemental income. So when you're working and you can work evenings and weekends in that industry, not like some of the others. So it also is open to immigrants, that haven't been able to use their designations here in Canada yet. It's open to refugees. And I would tell you that even those who have very limited opportunity to have had a formal education can find an entry position in this industry. Now, the reason I mention this is because I think regardless of age, sex, gender, religion, ethnicity, or abilities, there has always been this entry point for employment. And these positions, while I admit they are absolutely just a stepping stone, but they're important. And it's important that we support them because they not only allow the ability to learn the language, the customs and the culture, but an important opportunity to learn social skills, to have an understanding of what teamwork means. So when we speak today to you about the festival and the restaurants and the bars and the attractions, we're actually speaking about the people. Yes, the entrepreneurs, and yes, the boards that will benefit when the business is recovering. And some of them, I admit, have been hanging on. But as behind all of that are people and families. And they're in a myriad of positions at the front of the house and behind. So assisting this particular extraordinary world-class festival, which I would say to you, we have done, and I give great credit to the staff under David's leadership, incredible collaborations right through Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and hopefully there's some more surprises to come. It has been everybody all in to help the tourism sector. That's what it's been. And so in a year where I'm sure all of you are saying, as counselors and staff, this is another annus horribilis, and that if we don't, it's not necessarily let's not do it. This is one time that at any dollar, besides just the matching, will actually show up in this fiscal year. The return will come in this fiscal year, and being able to execute on this world-class event and show people what we do so well here in Waterloo region, I think will be something that will give further opportunities. But the big issue is the economic impact, and I hand off to my colleague, Paul Salvini, for that. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks so much, Mary. Great to see everybody. Amazing. Some faces I haven't seen in a while. So thank you for that. I'm so excited that UNZIPPED's coming to town. David mentioned that the Premier's coming by to take a peek and have an event, and that's before the thing's even been uncrated. So that's kind of exciting. This has economic development written all over it. I think this exhibit it's a world-class experience. It's going to bring tens of thousands of people, new visitors to Waterloo region. And many of these visitors are going to stay in our hotels, are going to eat in our restaurants, are going to shop in our stores. Jobs are going to be created, and local businesses are going to get a timely boost in revenues, not next budget year, right now. And that's exciting. But as Mary said, Unzipped isn't just a single event. It's not just at the museum. It's being delivered as part of a comprehensive festival. It's one that the entire community stands to benefit, with multiple institutions participating. And it's certainly a spectacle that has reach far beyond just the museum. There aren't too many opportunities that I see that have the kind of mentioning in the same breath London and New York and Tokyo and Sydney and Kitchener. That's pretty sweet. I'd like to see that T-shirt. And even with 1,000 visitors planned, the economic impact analysis for this particular festival shows a $6.3 million return to this region from visitor spending. But I think the important part for you, every additional 5,000 visitors that we can bring in will bring an extra $500,000 in economic impact to the region. And so contrast that with the Titanic exhibit we did a number of years ago, where we were able to get 50,000 visitors. There's no reason why we can't top that outcome, but obviously it's something we can't do alone. This is something where we've already spent the fixed costs. Now it's about leverage. How do we market this to bring people to the region to be able to generate that kind of boost and recovery that our local businesses are certainly looking for right now? So with that, thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the delegation? Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, thank you very much, Paul and Mary, for being here tonight, and others who are going to be here. And thank you, David. Certainly, I think my tour of the Ronnie Woods exhibit, sorry I missed you, David, there, but your team did a fantastic job. And I'll tell my colleagues later about seeing is believing. And that's the exhibit in Uptown Waterloo. But team, I really liked how they showed me this poster. It shows all the local connections, the local artists who have been involved, and all the things that are behind the scenes. It's not just about the Rolling Stones. And I think that's what really struck me. My question, though, is the Rolling Stones are obviously about music. And I think everybody of the 630,000 in the region of Waterloo can name some of the songs, if not a lot of the songs. What is the music aspect here? I think about all the bars and venues that we have. Is there an opportunity for them, David, or is something been planned?
Yes, we have a number of festival partners. I've shared that with you by email. The Jeans and Classics is having an evening of the Rolling Stones at Center in the Square. Maxwell's is having Dwayne Gretzky, who opened for the Rolling Stones up in Burroughs Creek near Barrie, 2019. A number of the bars and restaurants are doing promotions. We're giving away free ticketing. Princess Cinema is starting on the 18th, a Rolling Stones movie each month. On the 18th, across from me here at the Rich Uncle, they're doing a Rolling Stones trivia night. It's happening in Cambridge, it's happening in Waterloo and Kitchener. It's truly a festival. And the BIA in Kitchener, they're supporting 8 bars that will be offering music and different events and so on.
Good to hear. Thank you very much.
Councillor Vrvanovich.
Somebody had to forget to turn the mute off. Thanks, David, Paul, and Mary for. It almost sounds like Peter, Paul, and Mary, but David, Paul, and Mary for being here tonight, and thanks to the others who couldn't make it. Just one quick question, and then, Madam Chair, I would like to bring a motion forward later. And the question, David, is just, I know you've talked about a bunch of the partnerships. But as you look at the piece going forward, is there an opportunity here to also potentially, connect with some of our airline partners at Regional Waterloo International Airport, like Flair and WestJet? Maybe we might even get Pivot in under the wire in terms of their flights. I forget exactly when they start. I think of other partners, such as obviously St. Jacobs and the St. Jacobs Playhouse and so on, and opportunities that we can fit them in. And the really cool part about this, I think, and you might know best, is there an opportunity to leverage the new Stay in Ontario travel credit that the province recently announced in the fall economic statement?
Yeah, so you made a number of points there, and we are working with Via Rail to bring winners in from across Ontario. We're in the discussion with both WestJet and Flair to bring winners from a January weekend. 10 rock stations across Canada are going to go 100% Rolling Stones, talking about Waterloo region and the museum's exhibit. And so we're trying to get the airlines to bring winners in out of Calgary and Winnipeg and elsewhere. I have met with St. Jacobs. It's early conversations there, so I'm not sure how that one will mature. But I don't mean to make a pun on it, but there's no stone unturned. Like, we're working very, very hard. And I get the question asked often, will a band member be here? And you have to understand there's no guarantees, but you know me well enough that I am on, and we are asking every day. So can't promise that one, but we had a great shout out from Ronnie Wood, which I think you all saw, and we're going to be receiving one from Mick. And once I will ask for a complete set and get Keith to say something as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, Councillor Ravanovich, do you want to put your motion forward now and see if there's a seconder?
Sure, I can, Chair Redmond. And so it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Jaworski. And I sent this out to everyone this morning, that the Region of Waterloo support the $100,000 request from the museum. And if someone can correct my spelling mistake when I was typing this, for additional marketing dollars to promote post-pandemic visits to Waterloo region for the Unzipped exhibit, and it's supporting exhibits and events throughout the region, including overnight visits, in order to maximize the economic recovery impacts of this world-class show for our local tourism and hospitality industry, and that this investment be funded as an unbudgeted operating expense to the 2021 economic development budget. And if I can speak to it later, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so you've moved it, Councillor Jaworski. You're willing to second it? Okay. Councillor Foxton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Playing devil's advocate, our society needs something like this right now. We're coming out of COVID, and we've got to get people out and getting engaged and everything else. But I'm going to play the devil's advocate. So you've spent $858,000 on marketing so far. The region gives you $385,662 per year as grant money. We've waived storage space. We've discounted ION. We've waived advertising space. What do you need the extra $100,000 for? Because you've sold so many tickets, you're doing so well. What will you use the other $100,000 for?
Again, a couple of answers. First of all, for clarity, we don't have $850,000 in marketing. We have $150,000 in marketing. If we can almost double that with council's support, the short answer is we will bring a lot more people to this community to spend money. 8% of the tickets sold to date are from Quebec. They're going to stay overnight. We need to have more money in Quebec and Ottawa and Toronto. And the city, we did not get storage from the region. They tried their best, but we did not receive that. So yeah, the short answer is we would use this money to leverage this to bring as many people to this community as possible. People can talk how in the movie business, how much percentage they use on movies. And if the movie's working, they put more money into the marketing of that movie.
I just need clarification. Chair Redmond, in our report, it says that they have spent $858,000 on marketing. Maybe I made the assumption it was with this, but maybe something else. And also that we've waived advertising space at the airport. It's in the report, as well as discount for ION passes, and we provided storage space.
Thank you, Councillor Foxton. That's of staff, so if you're okay, we'll go back to staff to clarify that rather than ask Mr. Marskell to answer that.
Because if you've only spent 100 and some odd thousand, and how many tickets have you sold so far?
We've sold over $110,000 worth of tickets, which is roughly 4,000 tickets so far. And
how many can you take?
4,000 tickets.
No, how many more can you take? How many tickets total can you take?
Based on capacity in terms of COVID, we can do 80, 90, 100,000. When we had Titanic at 50,000 people, we went 24 hours a day for the final week because there was such a demand to bring people into the building. So we can open that up. And I know, Chair, you suggested the staff will answer that. I think the clarity of the 850,000 when we wrote the initial letter, we've spent that on the overall project, not on marketing, on the exhibit, on marketing, on incremental staff, on renting spaces around the community and so on. So that we may have confused on that one.
And one final question, Chair, if I may, and it may go to Barry Vivanovic, or it may go to a staffer, is the fund you said, Barry, was which fund was that coming out in the motion? And is there funds in that? Do we have ample funds in that? Whatever you said, it was developmental? No, what did you say coming out of? You're on mute, Barry.
As I indicated, Councillor Foxton in the email, staff suggested that for anything that's talking about additional one-time dollars, it either be recorded as an unbudgeted operating expense to the 2021 economic development budget, and that was the first choice, or funded from the tax stabilization reserve.
Okay, and is there sufficient funds? Are we looking at a surplus in that budget?
So, Councillor Foxton, I believe Mr. Dyer is on, and we can get him to speak to that.
Thank you.
Craig, would you like to speak to the notion? It actually is in the motion, but where those funds would come from, because they're not allocated at this point in time.
Yes, through Madam Chair, if approved by council, we would treat the expenditure as an unbudgeted expense. It would be a charge to the economic development budget. Overall, the region's budget is projecting to be in a surplus at the end of this year. But that being said, I would say that, you know, the absence or presence of a surplus, I don't think is a significant factor in approving the request. If you wish to approve the request, you should approve it for good policy reasons. And if that's the case, then it's $100,000 unbudgeted expense will form part of this year's financial position.
Thank you very much for that information. I'm going to support this based on this is exactly what our society needs today. I was so fortunate to have Rogers Hometown Hockey come. It was exactly what my community needed to start to get us out of COVID. And that's probably why the reason I'm going to support it is we need more to get us out of COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foxton. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair. I am going to support it, but I would like to just sort of explain why. I am going to support it because it's been framed and will be funded from economic development. I was concerned about the ask initially because I think it's very important that we stick to our funding framework for our cultural organizations. I think that we need to be worried about precedent. We need to be worried about fairness. But I do see that this is a different situation, and given that it is clearly an economic development initiative, it will have those sorts of benefits, and it will be funded from that pot. I will support it.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Jowett, I had your hand up. Is it still up?
Chair Redmond, I just had the same similar questions to Councillor Foxton, but again, as Chair of Economic Development, I'm happy to see an initiative like this going forward. I do think it's what the community needs also.
Helen, do you mind, Helen, just lean in a little bit more and talk a little bit louder.
Oh, geez, I guess we're all having speaker problems tonight. Just happy that we're doing something with economic development. I'm glad that that's where it's coming from. And I do think it's a great event, and I hope that we get lots of Cambridge folks out as well. And yeah, it's been a dream to meet Mick one day, so if you can make that happen, David, that'd be kind of cool.
You'll be second to meet him.
Councillor Kiefer.
Well, my questions were asked by Councillor Foxton, and I agree that this is a good event, or a great event, I should say. It's a concern. At one point it was a concern to me that this is a Kitchener facility, but this is bigger than the city of Kitchener. This is as was discussed by David. who's very passionate, of course, that this is a world-class event. So I'll be prepared to support it.
Thank you. Before I go back to Councillor Burbanovich, I appreciate the clarification of Mr. Dyer, and I would suggest, if it's a friendly amendment, that we strike off the last part of the motion and leave that to staff. So it would say, this investment be treated as an unbudgeted expense. Is that a friendly amendment? I guess I would ask Councillor Jaworski and Councillor Burbanovich, and Councillor Burbanovich, you can have the floor.
Well, that's fine, but it was actually Mr. Dyer's suggestion that be where it comes from. So, I mean, I'm happy to strike it, but it was staff's suggestion.
Mr. Dyer, do you want to comment on that?
Through you, Madam Chair, making the edit as proposed is fine. It doesn't change anything materially for staff.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm fine with it. I think it also spoke to the economic development piece that was important to members of council. Chair
I would leave that part in. I think that's really key, and that makes Councillor Clark happy. So we're all happy.
Okay.
And I guess Councillor Foxton made one of the points that I wanted to, and this is, if it comes under economic development, I think it's a different proposition. I know many of us have gotten an open letter from many arts organizations, and the museum receives $385,662, as Councillor Foxton, she must have asked staff the same questions I did, and our entire arts fund grants $393,000 throughout the region for creators and artists throughout the year. So that's just $7,000 more. So we have to recognize that the sector has really been dealt a body blow during the pandemic, and no doubt there will be many competing needs. So using this under the ambit of economic prosperity and development, I think, is a point in time that it sounds like there's a lot of consensus behind. So appreciate the conversation. I see no further hands. So
yeah, I was still up for making my comments, Chair Redmond. Yeah, just very briefly. I mean, as we all know, the tourism and hospitality sector has been hard hit. You know, this is a show that's indicative of the world-class status we're striving for the region, and something that is encompassing more and more of the region, the urban centers, the rural communities, and other opportunities there as we start talking about St. Jacobs, the airport, and other things. And this will allow us to capitalize that and on the Stay in Ontario travel credit that the provincial government announced. It would be great to fill up our hotels, which have struggled over the last couple of years. And this is certainly a great way to do it from an economic development perspective. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to support this evening. So thank you.
Councillor Jaworski, as seconder, are there any comments you'd like to make?
This is going to be a gas.
We're going to hold you to that. Okay, colleagues, do we need the motion up again, or do we understand it? I think we've all seen it. Okay, so please use your icons to vote yes or no on the motion for $100,000 for advertising for Unzipped at the museum. That is carried, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you, David, Mary, and Paul. Paul, you've been on the line for a while, enjoying all the trials and tribulations of council, so thanks for hanging in there. So that is passed, and I would now entertain a motion for the Committee of Whole to rise and Council to resume. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Kiefer. All those in, David's, are you waving goodbye or are you voting? Please use your icons to vote yes or no that we now resume as council. That is carried. A motion, I would now entertain a motion to adopt the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. Moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor Jowett. Please use your icons to vote yes or no. So that is carried. We have adopted the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. Is there any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
No.
No.
Motion to go into closed.
We did that already, didn't we?
Nope.
Oh, okay, move that.
So Barry's moving that because he's so enthusiastic. Councillor Foxton is seconding it. Please use your icons to vote yes or no to go into Committee of the Whole. That is carried. Colleagues, we just need about 5 minutes. Okay, we need a vote to enact the bylaws. That's moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor Harris. All those in favor, please use your icons. Don't go anywhere though, guys. And now we need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kiefer, seconded by Councillor Erb. All those in favor, please use your icons. That is carried, but don't go anywhere. Now you have to stay where you are for 5 minutes and we're going into closed.